name's Rosie Miles, and I'm taking you into Wolverhampton University's virtual learning environment, which is called WOLF. WOLF stands for Wolverhampton Online Learning Framework. And in the past few years, I've become very enthusiastic about trying to integrate an online component using on VLE and using a number of activities across a course, online activities that kind of dovetail with a face-to-face program. In a couple of modules I teach on the Victorians, the third level modules. And what I'm going to do is just very briefly show you a couple of these activities. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing, if you like, my homepage for a course that's running at this moment in this semester on late 19th century Fin de Si碬e writing and culture. What you see on the left here is my kind of orientation for the students, if you like. And on this particular course, the students have 4 activities. My online bit is called FOAM, which stands for the Fin de Si碬e Online Experience. And for each activity online, the students know, this is introduced to them from week 1, and they know that they're going to find the instructions as to what that activity is in a particular folder. So you can see there are 4 sessions here, this particular module. The 3 sessions that have preceded the last one have all been critical activities in the sense of a literary critical, what we would, those of us in sort of literary studies would recognise as literary critical activities. But the 4th session, which is actually running now, this week for my students, is of a different nature. It's the end of the course. This is the last week of the course, kind of week 11, 12. So they've finished the course. We've practically finished the course. And our set text last week was Sherlock Holmes, hence why you see a picture of Sherlock Holmes up there. And I give guidelines. If you go to the previous session, you'll see those guidelines as well. But just to imagine you're the students, what would you see for the guidelines for this particular session? That's what the students would see. And I've written the students a little story, really, which is about them being in the 1890s and a dark night in Wolverhampton. And they come to a room. And they go into this room. It happens to have the number 221B, which is of course the number of Sherlock Holmes's lodgings in Baker Street. And there's a number of things in this room. And all the things in this room are basically things that featured in the texts that we studied on the course. So we had a yellow book, looking at the yellow book. We had a syringe from Sherlock shooting up. We had a coffin from Dracula. We had some papers headed "Comrades Join the Revolution," which is a reference to William Morris's News from Nowhere. We had a bicycle, because we were looking at new women. And there's a trampled child, because we did Jekyll and Hyde. So what the students have to do from this kind of launch material is to go into a discussion room and solve the mystery, or really make it up, basically, because I haven't a clue what it is. But, of course, the thing they're going to do in this is they're not going to engage with this activity as they have done with the other activities. They're going to role play. So they're invited to enter a forum, but as you see highlighted in kind of purple there, they enter as a character or an author from any of the texts that we have studied on the course. So everything they do and say, they do in character. And again, they're invited to engage with these objects in the room, try and implicate other characters if they want to, whatever. So what happens when you do this? We take you into the forum. Just go like that. So if we go into my forum, and as I said, the exercises are all time-bound. They last a week. That means you get a critical mass of people in the forum, And they know that if the students go in there, they know all the rest of them will be in there. So it's time-bound, and this is happening now, this week. This session is happening. So they've all been posting in the last week, so this is very current. I told them I was coming here. I was going to show you. I'm going to take you all to Manchester Met. So this is just when you go in. This is what our kind of forum space would look like. So you can see on the right, you see the names. We get the names and the date of the point when the students post. And on the left, what you're getting is the initial post of a thread. If you're seeing an arrow at the side, that means there's been responses. And boy, have there been a lot of responses. Some of them I'm going to have to cancel because they've become addicted to posting. Very early on, what was quite interesting was somebody playing Mr. Hyde decided to post. And Mr. Hyde posting, because obviously Mr. Hyde is implicated in the kind of narrative through my props, set up a kind of, it's interesting, I have no idea what's going to happen in this, obviously, but Mr. Hyde kind of saying it was me quite early on, set up a kind of way that other students would then respond. But of course characters can interact from different texts who of course wouldn't speak to each other. So Lord Henry from Dorian Gray decides to reply. Jekyll there. And there's a little narrative that goes on between Mr. Hyde and Lord Henry down here. I think Dorian Gray joins in a little bit later on. I think that's Dorian Gray just coming in there at the end. Most of them do sign their names on some of them. But some of the threads get very, very involved. And I come in. Oh. I've come into play just at the bottom there as well. Nobody wants to play with me. I decided to be a character from News from Nowhere who's called Boffin the Dustman. Boffin is a dustman who likes being a dustman. I'm kind of, again, I'm playing with them, really, in a way I'm one of them. And I'm chivvying it along or trying to cause trouble or just push things on if I can, but I'm one of them in this. Just offering to collect everyone's rubbish because I'm concerned that all this blood and things is making a mess. That's just one example of a thread. Let's just close this up and find you another. There's all sorts of them. There's some really quite... Oops, let's just get out of there. There was a rather good one started by Mrs. Vane, who was the mother of Sybil Vane in Dorian Gray, who decides that the things in this room actually aren't actually the murder, but they're all props for a play, because she's the mother of connected to the stage, which I thought was quite inventive way of a whole other take on the props. A character from a Sherlock Holmes story is replying to her there. There's another one where Lord Henry decides again that actually what the things in the room are an installation work of art by Basil Hallward, from Dorian Gray. Again, they've been really very inventive, this group. Probably been the most inventive group I've had do this kind of exercise. The fun of it is, again, I'm not remotely in control of this, other than setting them up with the room. What they then go and do with it is entirely up to them, and they'll take it in all sorts of different levels. So there's all sorts of different threads running through here about what has actually happened in this room. And it seems to me to work really well. In some ways I set it up almost as a treat, and I need to think through this more. It's my final activity. It's, you've got to the end of the course, here's your reward. And perhaps I need to think more about that. But there's certainly something about what I feel I'm doing here is I'm doing something with the technology I couldn't do in the classroom. It would be a drama workshop if I did this in the classroom, and it wouldn't work for all sorts of reasons. But on here, it works. So there's a kind of freedom and an owning of that online space that the students have kind of developed over the term because they've been doing activities online. They know this space is theirs. But by the time they get to this point, the end of the course, they know the text, they know each other, they're just away with it. And they're all third years and all about to leave as well, so maybe it's their kind of last point to sort of be together, as it were, online. I don't have, obviously, I'm not here to talk about any of the other activities. just to say, I will, 2 minutes, take you out of this topic into my Victorians module. And you'll see here, this is called the Victorian Vision Online. I have 7 sessions. There's more sessions here. But again, I have a creative one. Actually, I have 2 creative ones, but I'll just show you again, one of the ones that works really well. I teach Dickens' Bleak House, and we have a debate. We have an online debate which starts from a discussion of Bleak House. And the motion in the debate is that this house believes that the law is an ass. And again, the students all go in and role play. Dickens, of course, is a gift here, cast of thousands. So my class of 30 plus can all be a different character, and I'm all told not to repeat characters. So there's an element of competition in terms of, if you really want to be a character, get on the board quick. That works very well as an incentive to get them on the board. Carrots and sticks, the sort of ideas. And they all kind of then go in as Dickens characters again. Just finally, briefly, just to flag this one up, Dickens Debate. And again, they're all as their tagline, their subject line. It's kind of told to introduce who they are again, and all sorts of things going on here. Miss Flight, again, I was just a hello, you're in the right place kind of message from me at the top there. But then it's over to them. Miss Flight, someone being sort of slightly mad Miss Flight there. But her view on the law is an ass. Who's replying? Crook is replying to her. There's a whole string. You see, they love people replying to them. You can see they're all replying to each other here. These 2 students have got into a bit of a chat with each other over several days. They will return to they will look at what they last posted and they will want to see whether someone has replied to it. So you get that kind of thing. Let's just finally just go to one other. Esther Summerson, the law is an ass. Esther saying, the law is an ass. Oh, Miss Flight again. Miss Flight's very busy. And that. Then they're getting into quite a chat. Someone else talking to Esther Summerson here, John Jarndyce, and who's being played at the bottom here. Lady Deadlock. She might even get a little icon of Lady Deadlock in there as well. So it's just, again, it's just an idea of actually something that I think the technology of the VLE can make possible, that can kind of enhance what I do. I wouldn't be without these in my courses now. They feel like they've become just a staple of what I do, and I wouldn't be without them. My courses would be lesser without these kind of creative kind of activities. And it's a way of bringing a different way of approaching texts into the literary critical domain, with which those of us who teach in that area are very familiar, and those kind of activities. It's a different kind of angle in to literary texts.